It's time for Spiritual Awakening Radio. This program is also known as the Sant Mat Satsang podcast. My name is James Bean of spiritualawakeningradio.com. This program is available as a podcast at all of the podcast sites, apps, venues online, wherever people follow podcasts. Today, the 5 names of God, the Simran words of Sant Mat. A while back I received a letter from Puneet from New Delhi and decided to make this the basis for today's program, use it as a means of addressing the subject of the 5 names. Dear Brother James, I'm Puneet from India, went through all religions and paths for 34 years, had severe spiritual depression. Some power brought me to Gnosticism and now Sant Mat. I'm in touch with Name Redacted. He'll initiate me. Are the 5 important passwords or names in Shabd Yoga related to Kal or time? Are these names a part of Kal, i.e. time? The demiurge? He asks. In many branches of Sant Mat, we have a 5-named panch, naam mantra, 5 sacred Simran words. These are names of God associated with the first 5 planes, heavenly realms. From the glossary of Sant Mat we read, Simran means remembrance, repetition of names or thoughts. In Sant Mat, the Simran of worldly thoughts is controlled through the Simran of the 5 charged names. Repeated by an initiate throughout the day and when sitting for meditation, as a means of collecting the thought currents at the third eye center. These sacred names are also used as passwords to the higher planes and provide protection from negative power influences, unquote. I will also add here that each of these 5 names correspond to the first 5 inner regions, and these heavenly regions are associated with certain lights and inner visions, as well as inner spiritual sounds. The lights and sounds of each of these regions for the soul traveler serves as markers along the way to help us identify where we are along this inward journey of the soul. This practice of Simran is about repeating names of God, the positive power, not any lower negative powers or Kal names. Surit Shabd Yoga is meditating on the inner light and sound of God from above. Information and instruction about these inner mysteries is only to be revealed by a qualified teacher, a competent living master in Sant Mat at the time of one's initiation. We as satsangis are not to share about our own inner meditation experiences. We as satsangis are not to share information about the meditation techniques or practices we have been given with others. We leave that instruction up to a legitimate spiritual master, also called in the Sant Mat tradition a Sant Sat Guru. Hazur Baba Sawan Singh on Simran Practice of the 5 names while concentrating at the third eye center, the seat of the soul. Hazur Baba Sawan Singh, just as a wanderer in the forest loses his way and finds no rest until he returns to his home, similarly, our attention remains outside. Through the 9 portals of the body, it is always directed outward. It remains in communion with the outside objects or their impressions, and this habit has become so fixed that we cannot hold our attention within us for even a second. The Western mind even abhors the idea of vacancy. This has to be brought inside, and when it likes to rest there, like the wanderer coming home, it will find peace within. This bringing in of the attention is done by repetition, repeating the 5 names in the manner you have been instructed. Repetition should be done with the attention held at the eye focus. Repetition without fixing the attention is no good. This repetition with attention impresses on your mind the idea of what lies within you. By this process, we are substituting outside objects for those that lie within. The repetition of the 5 names should be performed with love and affection, fixing the attention in the eyes without putting any pressure on them, and sitting in one posture as far as possible so that you become unconscious of the body below, and the eyes and thought does not run outside the focus of the eyes. You are required to concentrate and elevate your spirit to the till, or the third eye, upward between the 2 eyes, and as soon as you go there, you will see the Holy Father who will draw you up, says Hazur Baba Sawan Singh. Sant Garib Das, initiated by Swami Ji Maharaj of Agra back in the year 1878, became one of the great spiritual heavyweight successors of Swami Ji Maharaj of the Radhasoami Satsang. He was considered a true master of the highest order, a Sachkhand level spiritual master by others like Baba Jaimal Singh, and Hazur Baba Sawan Singh was also fond of him. Sant Garib Das founded his spiritual mission, his satsang, in the city of Delhi. His book of Q&A, questions and answers, is called the Book of Anmol Vachan, precious words or precious sayings of wisdom. Question, Swamiji, here referring to Sant Garib Das. Why is it essential to remember the 5 names? Answer from Sant Garib Das of the Radhasoami faith. Since at every internal stage the word, shabad, the sound current, is distinct, and the presiding power of each stage is also distinct, therefore it is essential to worship at every stage, meaning remembering the name of the presiding power, meditating on their form, and listening to their melody. Otherwise, worship will not be complete. Question, Swamiji, why is it advised to remember and meditate upon the 5 names of saints and listen to their sounds? Answer, unless one worships at these 5 realms with love and longing, with the grace of the Sat Guru, these realms cannot be conquered. Unquote. Sant Garib Das, Book of Anmol Vachan. Another thing to keep in mind is Sant Mat teaches there is one God, not 5 gods, not several gods. As Guru Nanak has proclaimed in the opening verses of his morning prayer, the Jap Ji, also known as the Mool mantra by the Sikhs, Ek Onkar Sat Naam, there is one God, truth is his name. One key name for the Most High Supreme Being in recent generations in Sant Mat, a name for God at the highest level, is Radhasoami, meaning the Lord of the Soul. Masters teach that the one Supreme Being, the Most High, in the 8th heaven, is the One, manifesting at the various levels of creation below. Each of the 5 names should be understood as being a manifestation of Radhasoami on the 5th plane, on the 4th plane, 3rd plane, 2nd plane, and on the 1st plane of creation. Sant Garib Das said, when you sing the name Radhasoami, you do the Simran of the 5 names. Garib Das quotes, also in the Anmol Vachan, one of the hymns of his spiritual master, his initiating guru, Seth Shiv Dayal Singh, known as Swami Ji Maharaj, also known as Sant Radhasoami Sahib. Incredible, boundless, unfathomable, nameless, anami. Such is my beloved Radhasoami. Astonishing, profound, infinite in form, such is my beloved Radhasoami. Assuming an inaccessible, agam form, coming as the unfathomable, such is my beloved Radhasoami. again becoming the Lord of the invisible realm, Alak, Lok. Such is my beloved Radhasoami. In Satlok, the realm of truth, he is known as Satnam, the true name. That is my beloved Radhasoami. Sitting in Banwar Gufa, the whirling cave, the inner knower. Such is my beloved Radhasoami. Establishing his abode in Mahasoon, the great void. Such is my beloved Radhasoami. In Soon, the void, residing in the form of the imperishable. Such is my beloved Radhasoami. And so on. This poem from the Sar Bachan Radhaswami Poetry, being recited here by Sant Garib Das of Delhi, continues saying that the one Supreme Being has his presence in all of the planes, in all of the realms, is the positive power operating in each of the inner regions or heavenly realms of creation. Now keep in mind here that these are secret mantra names revealed by a master at the time of initiation on a need-to-know basis, and only need to be revealed to those initiated into Sant Mat's meditation practice called Surit Shabad Yoga. And so I am discussing the history and purpose of these names, but out of respect for the tradition, I, of course, will not be saying or spelling out what these names actually are. The origin of the 5 names, where do these names come from? The panch naam words traced back to the Kabir-Sant Dharam Das line of masters, coming up next. The origin of the 5 names. These 5 names, which are associated with the inner cosmology, heavens, and sound currents of the saints, or sants, are to be found in certain writings of the Kabir tradition, and in other sant writings that make use of the literature of this same Kabir tradition. The people of the 5 names and the people of the Anurag Sagar, an important key scripture of Sant Mat about Kabir, are one and the same community, referred to by some scholars like Mark Juergensmeyer in the book Radhasoami Reality, for instance, as the Dharam Dasis, the Sant Dharam Das line of masters, going back many generations, going back many centuries. This is the root group, this is the source group and Sant tradition of the 5 names that existed in India long before the time of Sant Radhaswami Sahib, Tulsi Sahib, Darya Sahib of Bihar, and his master. The 5 Sufi names. Many current and past well-known masters of Sant Mat have had the practice, the custom of initiating Indian and Western disciples with the 5 familiar names, and disciples that have Muslim backgrounds with a different group of 5 Sufi-sounding names. These are Persian or Arabic words with a beautiful cadence, I must say, that have essentially the same meaning as the 5 Hindi names. I'm not sure how far back this practice goes, but I have seen these 5 Sufi-appearing names in the Sar Bachan Radhaswami Poetry of Swami Ji, other Agra Radhaswami writings, and they were mentioned also by Maharishi Mehi Paramahans. I do recall seeing them in the writings of Sant Tulsi Sahib of Hathras as well. This practice of the 5 familiar names of Sant Mat dates back to the time of Tulsi Sahib of Hathras, and likely even further back. The practice of initiating some satsangis with a different set of 5 Sufi-sounding names dates back at least to the time of Swami Ji Maharaj of Agra, and most likely even further back as well to the time of his guru, Sant Tulsi Sahib of Hathras, who had some Sufi followers. So this concept of the 5 Sufi names, Sant Kirpal Singh, Hazur Baba Sawan Singh had this practice of initiating some of their Muslim followers with this other set of 5 names, and no doubt they inherited that from earlier times. Baba Jaimal Singh, Swami Ji Maharaj of Agra, before that Sant Tulsi Sahib of Hathras, and he probably wasn't the inventor of that tradition either. Sant Tulsi Sahib composed some hymns or bhajans for his Sufi devotees. This is titled, Behold Your Beloved Lord Within. This is one of the few ghazals, a form of Persian lyrical poetry written by Tulsi Sahib. It was composed to explain the esoteric secrets of the spiritual path to a Muslim divine by the name of Sheikh Taki, who happened to pitch his tent in the neighborhood of Tulsi Sahib's residence. The saint impresses upon Taki to seek God within his own self and not in the world outside. Much of the mystery of the inner realms becomes resolved at the eye center, from where the seeker commences his spiritual journey. Mystic verses of Sant Tulsi Sahib. O Taki, seek not your beloved in the world outside. Within your own self, behold the splendor of your beloved. In the pupil of your eye is a mole, wherein is hidden the entire mystery. Peep within and behold what lies beyond this dark curtain. The secret of the 14 realms will for certain be disclosed to you. Let your attention not slip. See that you are ever vigilant. Listen, you are constantly being called from the Most High. There ever beckons to you the voice of your beloved. It is not meeting with the beloved that is difficult. What is most treacherous, O Taki, is that it is hard to behold him. Without the grace of some realized guide, says Tulsi, the path of salvation is distant, beyond your reach. That is a hymn or bhajan of Sant Tulsi Sahib in the form of a ghazal, preserved in an old book called Sant Bani series, a series of volumes. One of them is dedicated to the bhajans of Tulsi Sahib, and is also quoted in the book Tulsi Sahib, Saint of Hathras. For the saints of the East, all names of the one God represent the nameless Anami, Parush, the formless Narguna, God of love and compassion, who is described as timeless or Akal, spirit, and eternal or Sat. The true spirit of Simran practice is Bhakti. Simran is a term which means remembrance, the spiritual practice of remembering or being mindful of God by repeating his name. It's also called zikr, and some refer to the prayer of the name. Devotees sing or chant various names for God. Higher spiritually and more within is the practice of manas jap, the mental repetition of God's name or names, with the tongue of thought, as they say. In other words, chanting names of God within one's mind. The Sants have always placed much greater emphasis upon mental Simran over vocal chant, although I will say that masters have suggested that if you have difficulty concentrating and you're in a private space, you can repeat the 5 names out loud for 5, 10, or 15 minutes until you establish better concentration, and then switch to a mental repetition of those same 5 names. There is, however, more to Simran than the repeating of sacred names. Simran must be approached with the right attitude, the right spirit, for one's intent determines how successful the practice will be and what effect it will have upon one's consciousness. Simran has never been intended to be a dry or lifeless mantra repetition. The path of the saints is a bhakti path, a path of love and devotion for the Supreme Being. Thus, the true masters have always instructed their students to repeat God's name with love and devotion, as a lover calling out to one's beloved, the Lord of Love. Says Guru Kabir, keep your mind ever engrossed in the name of the Lord, as the lover's mind is ever engrossed in his beloved. He never forgets her for a single moment. Through day and night he remembers her. Happiness rests in ever-repeated Simran. Sorrow and suffering is removed by Simran. Kabir declares with utmost force and clarity, practice this Simran and be one with the Lord. Baba Ram Singh on the repetition of the 5 names and Simran practice according to contemporary Sant Mat. What is required is that whenever we get time, we should spend that in doing Simran. In whatever work we are doing, we should try to do more and more Simran so that we are able to tread upon this path. The masters tell us that we should do our Simran. We should continuously repeat these holy 5 names. And as we keep doing this, more and more, we will continuously be purifying our mind and soul. And once the mind and soul become clean, then the progress of withdrawal of the attention from the 9 doors of the outer senses and reaching the 10th begins. So as long as the mind is impure, we will not be able to withdraw that attention and get to the 10th door. I hope that all of you spend this time, this precious time that you have been given in doing Simran, because Simran is the most important step on this spiritual path. We have to perfect our Simran. When we initially start doing our Simran, the first Simran is done by our tongue within, and gradually that Simran has to become perfected, and the mind has to start doing the Simran. And when the mind starts doing the Simran continuously, that is called a japa, or ceaseless Simran. So when your Simran is perfected like that, where your mind is continuously doing Simran, and even if you are talking to someone or doing some work, the mind is continuously engrossed in doing its Simran automatically. That is when the mind becomes pure and your spiritual journey within begins. When we listen to the satsangs and we follow the instructions of the masters, we do our bhajan Simran, our meditation, regularly, then the soul, the attention of the soul, starts withdrawing from the 9 doors and comes to the 10th door. And at the 10th door, we see ourselves, and with the grace of the master, who is there at the 10th door, he also manifests the jyoti, the light within, and the holy sound current within. And we then are able to successfully move on this path of spirituality with the grace of the Satguru. Even if we get a moment of listening to the holy sound current, then not only this life, the karmas of this life, but the karmas of tens of millions of our previous lives are all redeemed, and the mind becomes very pure, like glass. The holy sound current is very, very pure, and when the mind comes in contact with the sound current, with this holy current, the mind and soul also become very pure. Just pausing here for a moment, Baba Jaimal Singh used to say this quite often as well. Even meditating upon the sound, hearing the sound very clearly, audibly, for like 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, even 5 minutes, is life-changing, is transforming. Even that small amount of true meditation upon the sound has profound effects. Baba Ram Singh, this naam, these 5 names that are given for repetition for our Simran, these help us in withdrawing from the 9 doors, 9 outward doors of the body, and coming to the 10th door. When the attention is focused at the 10th door, our tongue stops and our intellect ceases. So when the intellect ceases and the tongue no longer functions, then this descriptive naam is of no use after that. Just pausing here, one repeats the 5 names. One repeats the 5 names, focusing at the third eye center, while gazing into the darkness within, while contemplating on the form of the Master. The repetition of the names continues. When one is seeing inner light, one continues the repetition of the 5 names. But when one reaches the inner sound, that inner sound is understood as a higher form of the name of God. And so when you reach that stage during your Surat Shabad Yoga meditation practice, you switch from the 5 name repetition to concentration upon the sound current at that stage. Baba Ram Singh, at the 10th door, there the soul resides, and also the holy sound current, which is resonating at the eye center. That is also there at the 10th door. At the time of initiation, the Master connects the sound current to the soul, and that is the true initiation. Above are excerpts. Were excerpts from various satsang discourses of Sant Ram Singh given during various satsangs that took place during a spiritual retreat in India back in August of 2022. The 5 names of the Jewish Sethian Gnostics. I mentioned that the 5 names, the regular 5 names, go very far back in history, and there's even this practice of 5 Sufi names being given to some. Well, even earlier in history, there were other groups that had a 5 name or panch, naam approach to sacred names and chant. The 5 names of the Jewish Sethian Gnostics. In one of the Jewish Sethian mystical paths of antiquity, a group referred to by scholars as the Sethians, the Sethian Gnostics, there was also a 5-named or a panch naam mantra approach as well, only with 5 Hebrew names that have been found embedded in certain Nag Hammadi library texts. As with the 5 names of Sant Mat, these Jewish Gnostic sacred names, these Hebrew names, were also associated with certain heavenly regions and were revealed at the time of initiation. They were also used as passwords and words of power and protection. To learn more about the parallels between contemporary Sant Mat and ancient Judaism, especially Jewish mysticism, including Kabbalah, see the following books published by the Radhasoami Satsang Bayas. The Mystic Heart of Judaism by Miriam Carvella, and a companion volume called The Holy Name by Miriam Carvella, both volumes published by the Bayas Radhasoami Satsang RSSB, Science of the Soul .org. And from that same source are also the very fine volumes authored by John Davidson, including The Gospel of Jesus in Search of His Original Teachings, and several other publications he's authored over the years about the Robe of Glory, the Hem of the Pearl, Odes of Solomon, and other topics exploring Jewish, Christian, Gnostic, and Hermetic, and Manichaean and Mandaean writings of the past. Wonderful material to explore. Wrapping up today's edition of Spiritual Awakening Radio, some mystic hymns from a mysterious figure just referred to as the Master. We don't have his name. He's just referred to as the Master. Also called the Teacher of Righteousness of the Dead Sea Scrolls community, an ancient Jewish sect based at Qumran in Israel, near the Dead Sea in antiquity, that was in existence prior to and also contemporary with the Nazarene John the Baptist sect and the Jesus movement. All of these concepts, baptism by water, communion, a demiurge, lesser god, and a true merciful supreme being. All of these ideas can be found present in late Second Temple Judaism. Nothing new under the sun, as it says in the scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures. Divine light in the Dead Sea Scrolls, coming up next. This is from the Psalm scroll of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Some of these are very mystical and were composed by the Master, the teacher of righteousness. Divine light in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Thou hast shaped that clay on the wheel and passed it through thy test, that it may find its way into thy lot. And when cracks appear in it, thou mendest them. Yea, over mere dust hast thou wafted thy Holy Spirit, and hast so molded that clay that it can have converse with angels and be in communion with beings celestial. From the font of his knowledge has my light shot forth. Upon his wonders has my eye gazed. Mere flesh hast thou lit with an everlasting light, that there be no reversion to darkness, and a light hast thou revealed, that it can never be turned back. Your Holy Spirit illuminates the dark places of the heart of your servant with light like the sun. I look to the covenants made by men, worthless. Only your truth shines, and those who love it are wise and walk in the glow of your light. From darkness you raise hearts. Let light shine on your servant. Your light is everlasting. You set your word in this ear of dust and write truths on my heart. You end my wandering to bring me into concordance with you, that I may stand unshaken before you in the glow of perfect light forever, where no darkness is forever, where unsearchable peace is forever. For me, a creature of dust. From the Psalm scroll of the Dead Sea Scrolls, translated in the Dead Sea Scriptures, by the great scholar Theodore H. Gaster, wrapping up today's Satsang edition of Spiritual Awakening Radio on the 5 names of God, the Simran words of Sant Mat.